Oh, and I didn't have my transition turned on. Let's try that one more time. All right. Well, OBS is just going to be weird tonight. Good evening, taters. Thank you for joining me. So I realized that I had multiple versions of my schedule image going around this week. The one I featured on stream on Tuesday said I was going to do some random games, do some kind of gaming tonight. And the ones I had on Torment Nexus and Blue Sky said that I was going to do some live 2D rigging. And yeah, so instead, I'm just going to do neither of those and talk about my recent vacation to Japan. I am hoping to do a little bit of rigging tonight anyway, so I'm going to try to get through this at a fairly quick pace. I do know that looking at someone else's vacation pictures is I think that's one of the layers of hell in Dante's Inferno. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But hopefully this should be entertaining. If you've been to Japan, you've probably got an idea of the kind of things I'm going to show from the nerd angle. And if you've never been, well, maybe you'll learn something, or maybe get some ideas for taking a trip of your own. If you have the means, I highly recommend it. I've been fortunate enough to go to Japan 4 or 5 times. Anyway, and it's always a blast whenever I go. I always see something new, and it's a pretty big change of pace. Well, so without any delaying any further, I'm not going to go to the schedule board today. I will be back Saturday morning, and I'm probably going to do some more rigging then. I've got a little bit of a window to really make some progress on my Live 2D model over the next week and a half, so I'm going to try to capitalize on that. So Saturday morning will be a little bit more Live 2D rigging, and I might do some light gaming, maybe pop on Suika game or something chill. I don't know. One of these days I'll get back to Final Fantasy 14, I swear. All right, now let's see if I got all this set up. Okay, seems to be working. Although I do want to make one adjustment. I actually activated a music subscription like an adult. And let's see if this works. And if I press the button, it actually... Okay, there we go. Went ahead and put together a... No, it's not specific to this presentation, but I just made a general playlist of shit I have looping on YouTube all the time. You'll get a bit of Final Fantasy in this, so if that bothers you, why are you watching me? All right, so quick overview. So my partner and I stayed in Ikebukuro for the bulk of our, well, I say bulk, our entire vacation. Ikebukuro is in the north, I believe, western part of Tokyo. And if you've ever watched the anime Durarara, frankly, I like Baccano better, but Durarara takes place in Ikebukuro. Just realized there was a photo I should have taken that would exit that point. Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, Sparrow, right on the money. Ikebukuro is often associated with a lot of fan and nerd stores geared towards a female fan base, Fujoshi. Although nowadays a lot more, well, okay, I don't have the data to back that up, but I've heard people say that it is getting a bit more like general nerdery. So there's tons of stuff to see there. This picture on the left is the picture of kind of like one of the main streets going through the shopping districts and nerd districts in Ikebukuro. I don't actually know the name of this street. Oops. And let's see. So yeah, this is kind of where we went to and from for pretty much any time we needed to go anywhere. This is the way to the Ikebukuro train station, which if you've never lived or traveled anywhere with a working transportation system, I'd almost say that experience alone is, well, maybe not worth the price of admission of going to Japan, but something to consider because their public transportation freaking rules. And sometimes you even see weird art installations like this thing on the right of these two very limber young men balanced precariously on each other's hands and or feet and faces. I don't want to know how they modeled this. They probably had models for this. I'm not going to think about that anymore. Moving on. So one of our first evenings there, we were scrambled to find dinner, and per my partner's recommendation, we went to an Indian restaurant called Tomboy Cafe. We were both very amused by the name, but oh, by the way, I'm not going to repeat all the jokes I made on Torment Nexus, I mean Twitter, but I'm going to repeat a few of them, and this is one of them. Anyway, the food, it's pretty standard Indian food, which means it was freaking delicious, and you kind of want to pass out and take a nap afterwards. But unfortunately, there was not a single tomboy there, which I found disappointing. All right, moving on to some of the more. It is a good name, and also, like, why do they have like the Easter Island? There's a name for these heads, and I don't know what it is. So there's a lot to unpack here, but the food was good. That sounds familiar. I think you're right, Sparrow, but admittedly, I could be wrong. Well, no, better a guess than I got. So moving on to some of the nerd shit, especially in Ikebukuro, but also, you know, Shinjuku, Akihabara, and all that. There are game centers everywhere, like frickin' everywhere. Taito owns a bunch. Namco owns and operates a bunch. And in all of them, I've noticed over my last few visits, the contents of these is getting geared much more heavily towards crane game machines. They're like little claw machines where, you know, you move a joystick around, hit a button, and the machine never actually picks up anything. Apparently, the machines in Japan are much more forgiving, or at least the likelihood of it actually exerting enough force to lift the thing is much higher than what you'd see here in America. But I never got it to work. These here are two claw machines I wanted to point out. The one on the left actually has the little, I can't remember their name, but they're the little like scuba creatures from, excuse me, I need to shut something down. There we go. From late in Endwalker, Final Fantasy. I tried to get it and failed. The one on the right is actually a free run at Journey's End claw machine to pick up little treasure chests. A closer look on this one, they had a Mimic chest available, but it was sold out. I mentioned this on Tuesday. Free rent is going to pop off in terms of merchandise. Like, there's lots of stuff everywhere. I saw multiple claw machines of just free rent and Fern. There's going to be more. The left here, this is the chunk. I don't know what it's actually called, but this is a cat plush, a round cat plush. That's about the size of an adult male, an adult human male, I should specify. This thing is enormous, and it's positioned near the front of the sorcerer. Every time you walk by, you see the chunk. So we got to see the chunk every day and get his blessing. But not at claw games, because I'm abysmal at those. In the basement of one of the claw machines, this is another thing. There was a good bit of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stuff there. It's a very popular show, which is why they have 6 seasons of it. Well, technically 5. And more's on the way. This was at the bottom of, I don't think it was the same game center with the chunk, but there's another one in the Ikebukuro area. I know a bunch of y'all like JoJo's, so made sure to take a picture of that. These 2 photos are not mine, but I'm including them here because if you've never been to, well, y'all know what gashapon machines are. You know, you put in a few coins, you turn a dial, and you get a random toy in a capsule. Featured here is a massive, 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 massive gashapon store in the Sunshine building in Ikebukuro. And when I say massive, like, I say this at hyperbole. There are thousands of these things. It's a massive, massive, massive space, just chock full of the damn things. We spent a lot of money there. Moving on. I didn't actually buy this one, but this one was just so incredibly meta. It's a gashapon of gashapon machine handles that make the little clicking noise as you turn it. In hindsight, I kind of wish I bought one, but I didn't. Oh well. I thought that one was funny. There'll be some more gashapons later on. So, another store that we frequented, this is not my photo, is a store called Don Quixote. And it is something of like a general store, souvenir store, nerd store, smaller electronics store. kind of like if you take a Walmart, take out about 2/3 of the groceries and then stack it vertically, you've got a Don Quixote. These stores are massive, and there's about one in every major, I guess, neighborhood, borough. I'm not sure what the correct distinction is. This isn't my photo. And this is what the inside of every Don Quixote looks like. It is just stacked floor to ceiling with all sorts of stuff. I've heard someone say this is like overstimulation nightmare, which is accurate. There is just so much stuff in here all the time. And the stuff's generally pretty good quality and pretty cheap. They actually have a floor in each one for like high-end goods, like jewelry, watches, and all that. And so, you know, you can go there, get your garbage snacks for being a gremlin, and buy a nice necktie. I did not buy a necktie. Another thing you'll see all throughout these Don Quixote stores is their little penguin mascot. They have a name, but I forgot what it is. And so, like over here on the left, they'll often have decorations themed to certain products. So they have like a whole series of hair dyes. So they have the little penguin guy all lined up with all the different colors doing Dragon Ball Z hair because, you know, why not? And on the right, this was something I really wanted to find. They do make and sell plushies of this little guy. I really wanted to find one and purchase one. The only ones I found were too big to fit into my luggage at the end of the day. So I'll just have to look for him next time. Another cool store I went to, and I went to a couple of different ones of this, is called Super Potato. I know, right? Me going to Super Potato, imagine that. These are secondhand retro video game stores. So, yeah, it's all secondhand. You can find some really, really cool, neat stuff here. Tons of old retro games like Famicom, Super Famicom. Basically, up through PlayStation 1, you've got a lot there. They do carry PlayStation 2 and newer games, but like, you really want to go here for the old school retro stuff. They sell consoles, accessories, hardware. That's redundant. And of course, the game software itself. The one on the left is a smaller one in Ikebukuro. And the one on the right is, I don't know if it's considered a flagship store or just a big one, but it was a 4-story complex in Akihabara. Okay, this is from the just outside the door of the one in Ikebukuro. And I'm including this because you see here pictures of Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. And I can't read this, but it says something to the effect of, you know, we have security cameras set up, shoplifters will be prosecuted, monitored for security, as it says down here. And, you know, nothing to instill the fear of being perceived like, you know, dictators. I thought that was funny. They'll also have some pretty funny illustrations inside. Not quite as product-themed or specifically themed as Don Quixote, but over here you have Link making the gremlin, the Anya gremlin face from Spy Family, which I believe it's Yukurishite Tene. I think that's something like take your time. Please take your time, enjoy the store. I think that's what it says. I could be off the mark. And then the one on the right is the Kuso Miso Yaranaika meme featuring Super Mario. So those made me laugh. Oh, yeah, and suddenly, I don't know what this game is, but suddenly America happened. You'll see more America in this presentation, but I don't know what this game series is. But yeah, America happened. So I went to Akihabara, I would say twice, technically 3 times, but one time was really late in the evening. One thing I didn't know when they started doing this is if somehow you don't know this, Akihabara is like the major big-time Hewegg nerd shopping district. It used to be predominantly like a cheap electronics district, but as nerd stuff became more popular, that's where all the anime stores were for a while. And the place got so busy that they actually close off the roadways during the weekends, or at least on Saturday, so it's strictly pedestrian traffic. When I was walking around, I was waiting for the crosswalk like an idiot, a sensible idiot. And as I was crossing, I noticed people stopping to take selfies and junk in the streets. I'm like, man, you guys are idiots. Turns out I was the idiot. Here's another shot later in the evening. They got, yeah, I mean, almost every billboard here is some anime or mobile game property. Kind of a cool space to walk around. In recent years, they've been closing some things down, like some of the legacy arcade that have just been there forever. Like major... Oh, this song. Do I need that much psychic damage right now? Yeah, why not? Sorry, I just got distracted by feels. Anyway. Oh, yes. Several landmark stores have been shutting down over time. And some of those, like, when some people say, oh, Akihabara is dead, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not a local. I've only visited there a few times. There's plenty of shit there for me. But it might be true that some of the smaller stores, the little, the locals know about, maybe not the tourists. I could see some of those maybe starting to shut down. And at the same time, more things are opening up in Ikebukuro. So honestly, if you hit up those two districts, you'll see all the nerd shit you want to see. And all throughout Tokyo, you'll see little pop-up cafes or smaller stores. The left is a picture I took from an Akiba Hobby store. That's the name of the store, Akiba Hobby. And I don't know if they have multiple franchises around, but this one was specifically like all Toho. I don't know much about Toho. I need to actually get caught up on Mallory Lamb's Toho introduction stream. I meant to watch that. But yeah, some of them are very specifically themed for like a given property. No, I take that back. They'll have certain types of goods. So there were a number of stores I saw that were strictly just like trading card games, a lot of trading card games, a number of things geared towards like male pops groups or all the anime series I'm just going to collectively refer to as marketable singing boys. Had a lot of those. And then the right was from a Capcom cafe that I didn't actually get anything to eat at, but they had a Monster Hunter statue of the Meowster chef. There's actually a Hololive pop-up store at the Character Street at Tokyo Station. Oh, this fucking song. Every time. So that was kind of cool. I don't actually follow any of the Hololive girls. Like, I can barely keep up with the indie VTubers that I have become acquainted with, and I can't keep up with the corpo streamers, unfortunately. But, I mean, Hololive was pretty popular. There was goods in a number of places. So, good for them. These are a couple of Stormtrooper things I saw at Yodobashi Camera. They were all geared up to go to an idol show of some kind. I don't know what. And I made the joke on Torment Nexus, Twitter. It's like, there's Darth Vader saying, don't talk to me or my son or my son's sons or my son's son's sons, so forth and ad nauseum. I feel like I've seen this exact same display at another Yodobashi Camera, but maybe I just got confused. Anyway. Let me scroll ahead so I know what's coming. Oh, it did that for me. A couple of stores I really like going to in Akihabara are the Kotobukiya flagship store and the Kospa store. Kotobukiya tends to gear more towards like high-end figures and, well, maybe not super high-end, but like, yeah, Kotobukiya is great. It's also, and this is why I have a picture of it, one of the only places I could find Guilty Gear merch. This photo on the left is all Guilty Gear. And they had some stuff left over from Exard, too, which is where I got the some of the cam badges I showed off on Tuesday night. Let's see. Really nice quality stuff they usually... Yeah, they don't do cheap shit. Kotobukiya model kits do tend to be a bit more expensive compared to Bandai. There's one kit I really wanted to find, an old Xenoblade kit, but that thing's been out of print for years. I really missed the window on that. And on the right, Kospa, is another one. Like, they don't put out that much merchandise, but they do tend to skew more obscure. So they had like some Guilty Gear stuff, such as Our Lady and Savior, Bridget, aka Brisket, depending on which meme you saw. And that's also where I got my Pop Team Epic Rail Pass holder that I showed off on Tuesday. I don't think... Yeah, I only bought the Your Boy Kongming sticker there this time around, but I always go and look. These are some more shots of things from Kotobukiya. And really, Kotobukiya was the only place I saw any new Xenoblade 3 merchandise at all. It's kind of hard to tell from the photo, but they had acrylic stand-ups and fully metallic keychains of some of the actual Monado's swords from the game. I showed off one of the acrylics on Tuesday. And the right is some spoiler-tastic... Well, if you know who these characters are from Final Fantasy XIV, you know who they are. And yeah, other than Square Enix themselves, Kotobukiya is the only real manufacturer I saw of Final Fantasy XIV goods. That's a little disappointing, but I guess Square Enix is really protective of their IP and don't want it to cheapen with cheap goods. I don't have to like it, but I understand it. Oh, I skipped one. Okay. This is funny. So speaking of Final Fantasy, here is a very, very, very good waifu figure. You know the joke. Cloud has to dress in drag for the wall market sequence, and they released a very detailed figure for that. Yes, truly beautiful. Nailed it. Totally nailed it. And let's see. I'm not sure if this was... Did I see this at a Lashinban? I forget what store I saw this at, but even with the yen being a bit weaker right now, 160,000 yen, that's like, what, $120, maybe a little less? Expensive figure. Cloud is not a cheap date. And then on the left, this cracked me up. So I love everything Pop Team Epic. And one common thing you'll see, not even just in anime stores, but like train stations and airports and stuff, are food souvenirs. So it's like little individually packed cookies or mochis or stuff like that. I'm going to skip ahead. Yeah, skip ahead to the next song, rather. I don't need 3 loops of Close in the Distance. And neither do you. But anyway, there'll be like little food souvenirs you can bring and distribute to coworkers, friends, family, or just eat yourself. They had a Pop Team Epic one of cookies that are already broken, which is incredibly on brand, and I love that. So most of the nerd stuff is in Akihabara or Ikebukuro, but there's a bunch of other stuff scattered throughout. In, I believe it's Shibuya. Yeah, Shibuya, they have a first-party Nintendo store with all sorts of merch for the first-party Nintendo properties. So Mario, Zelda, Splatoon, Kirby, Animal Crossing, all that. I went there hoping for Xenoblade merch, but I guess this means Xenoblade is technically owned by a subsidiary company, so shame. The Nintendo store was frickin' packed. If you go, I would recommend going on the weekday, because otherwise it's shoulder to shoulder. If you do not like crowds, it might put a damper on the experience, but it's way too easy to spend money in there. And directly across from the Nintendo store is a Shonen Jump store. So, yeah, similarly, incredibly cramped, small footprint there. But you can find all sorts of, like, One Piece is the Evergreen property, but they also had a whole bunch of other stuff for their other big properties like Naruto, Boruto, even some old Bleach. Well, I say old, it's kind of getting a minor revival. Bleach, JoJo's, Spy Family, all that. And throughout Shibuya, regarding to the photo on the right, throughout Shibuya was a whole bunch of stuff for Jujutsu Kaisen cross promotions because the latest season took place in Shibuya. And so this is a big statue, like probably about shoulder height, of Gojo and a bunch of skeletons. I wanted to get better pictures of this. This is the only one I can get because, again, shoulder to shoulder, it was incredibly packed. I find it a little weird that there's so much promotional stuff for Jujutsu Kaisen because, yeah, it takes place in Shibuya, But if you've watched the latest season, things don't end well for Shibuya or its denizens. That's all I can say about that in good conscience. Moving on. But beyond just like general Shonen Jump stores, like One Piece is fucking everywhere. You can find One Piece merch without even trying. And there's so much of it to the point that there is literally a store dedicated just to the Straw Hat Pirates. So they have stuff for all the crew members, posters, plushies, keychains, infinite blind box figures and all that. And I'm slowly making my way through reading the One Piece manga. So a lot of the stuff here was a bit lost on me, but it was cool to see. Another store I really like and recommend going to if you go to Japan is Mandarake. That's another series of secondhand goods stores, and this is where you can find some real treasure. Tons and tons and tons of vintage, like straight up vintage properties. They actually had a and the one we spent the most time in was the one in Nakano Broadway, which is in the Nakano neighborhood I believe that's due west of Tokyo proper. I mean, it's in Tokyo, but it's the western part of the city. And most of an entire shopping mall is just Mandarake stores, and they're segmented into different kinds. Some of them had like retro toys, American toys, figures, soundtracks, and all that. It's honestly just fun to go and window shop. And they had a couple of store spaces like when I say vintage, I mean like 1950s toys in really, really, really good shape. Everything was for sale. It had a price tag on it if you wanted it. Mandarake is cool. They're scattered all throughout Tokyo. There's some in Osaka and other parts of the country as well. Make time for it. It's really, really good. One moment, I'm going to take a sip of tea because my throat hurts. Talking my head off. Also need a bit of caffeine. Still jet lagged. Another thing that me and did. Emrys. Fuck. I'll edit that out. Sorry, let me make one little note regarding that. Oh, wrong timer. If you heard something, no, you didn't. Is we spent a day in Yokohama. So we went to Yokohama mainly for two things. One, to see the Gundam, because, hi, have we met? And two, there was a particular figure my partner was looking for that one store in Yokohama had in stock. And we did manage to find it. But while we're there, we took a brief trip through the Yokohama Chinatown, which I've never been to a Chinatown before, well, other than the Yokohama one. And no, it was real neat to go down there, get a really, really good meal for pretty cheap. Tons of really good souvenir shopping there. I would, as with most things, I would recommend doing it if you're in the area. Yokohama is about 35, 45 minutes away from Tokyo by train. So it's a good day trip. This was a shrine of sorts in the Chinatown. I don't know exactly what denomination is the wrong word here, but it looked cool, so I took a picture. Now, this shrine I can identify. This is the Gundam factory in Yokohama. They've done a few Gundam, like life-size Gundams throughout Japan, predominantly in Odaiba, which I didn't go to this time around, but they had a custom RX-78 iteration, like the RX-78 F00 something or other. And this was a full-on animatronic. This thing moves. Now, I say moves, it is an animatronic. So it's got a whole like loading and docking bay assembly that it's attached to. So it doesn't really get out and walk around much, but the sheer scale of this thing is impressive. Like when they say life size, they're not kidding. And so even if you know, if I was being uncharitable, I'd compare it to the Country Bear Jamboree of old. The sheer size of this thing is an engineering marvel, and it looked pretty freaking cool. If you pay extra, you can actually sit on this little alcove on the right for the show, the demonstration. We opted not to pay for that because I didn't want to, which ended up being just as well because I wonder if they had a really good view from there. Like, it was close, but it was a weird angle. And it was also really freaking cold and windy. So that's the Gundam. That was cool. I think this particular Gundam is going to be taken down at the end of March, so it was kind of a now or never circumstance with going to see it. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. So I like Cyberpunk 2077. If you've watched Cyberpunk 20, excuse me. Well, yeah, I like Cyberpunk 2077. I meant to say Edge Runners. If you've seen Edge Runners, you probably like it too. The very day we were in Yokohama, the shopping mall where we found the figure my partner was looking for, we saw signs advertising a Cyberpunk Edge Runners pop-up store, and it was the very last day that it was up. So, yeah, we stopped and looked, and they had some, I believe they had this kind of pop-up store in Shibuya at some point. But like, you know, they had t-shirts, buttons, posters, some really cool banner art and stuff to look at. I'm just glad I saw it. So, yeah, they had stand-ups of some of the characters. They sampled some of the t-shirts. I didn't end up buying a shirt because I didn't particularly care for any of the designs. But, yeah, Edge Runners must have been moderately successful over there. I mean, it's Studio Trigger. Like, I don't know how popular Cyberpunk as a property is over there. One moment, sip of tea. But, yeah, pop-up store. That was cool. Okay, so there were some actual non-anime shit we did over there, believe it or not. And there is a digital art group. I don't know as much about them as I should, called Team Lab. And they've done several exhibits throughout Tokyo. The first one I saw was Team Lab Borderless several years ago, and that was in that was done in Odaiba near the Gundam, which I saw during that trip. Yeah, Borderless was so cool. This time around, they were doing their planets exhibit, which, contrary to the name, did not have a planet theme. Frankly, I liked Borderless better, but Planets was also cool. So their whole shtick is like, and I guess their whole shtick is like physical spaces, interactive digital art sort of thing. They had some more static exhibits in their Planet show. The one on the left is they had a room lined with mirrors and then all these LED strips of lights hanging from the ceiling. So combined with the mirrors, the space felt infinitely larger than it actually was. It was already a big space. Up right, they had a little garden space with all these little chrome beans. I guess that's what they are. I don't know. Full metal chrome potatoes, as I made the joke on Torment Nexus. And then they also had a hanging garden space indoors that was kind of cool. Just sort of a sit down and chill space. Now, I wasn't able to embed videos because I'm using an ancient version of PowerPoint. I think it's like PowerPoint 2010, which didn't support MP4. So I did take some videos of some of these spaces. Let me mute the... I'm not going to mute the... So there is audio accompanying these videos, but this is off my phone, so the audio is crap. So just enjoy the music. This is the LED light strip room. And, okay, it's going to loop. And this is just a really, really, really cool space. It got a little visually overwhelming. You might have an issue if you're photosensitive, but they would do several different iterations of these light shows in this room. This one was the multicolor version. They also had one that were just pure white. And then the ceilings and floors were all mirrors. So like the way it kind of worked with the space was cool. Next one. This is a projection map, sort of illuminated pond you could walk through. Yeah, like they actually warn you, make sure you bring shorts or something. They would actually loan you a pair of shorts because this is knee-deep water. Like as an adult male, gonna break kayfabe. As an adult human male, yeah, this literally reaches up to your knees. As a popoto, this would probably be about chest or shoulder height. And it's a little hard to tell from this photo, but there are actually little like simulated koi fish swimming, or carp swimming through the pond. And at first I thought it was just on a loop, but I kind of got the hunch that this was actually an interactive element. And reading about it later was confirmed. As you move through the space, these fish will move around you, so you don't actually walk through any fish. This is a live, smart projection. I have no idea how they do it, but it's cool. All right, one more video. This one doesn't translate to video quite as well. They had sort of a room with sort of a dome, hemispheric ceiling, and they did projections of like flying through a space with flower petals all over it. This exhibit was really cool, but it was a bit sensory overload. I'm slightly prone to motion sickness, and this never crossed the line, but if you might get motion sick, well, if you're prone to it, this might have given you a headache. But it was just kind of a cool space to just sit down and just chill for a few minutes. Similarly, I think the projection mapping here was computed on the fly, because it would alternate between different kinds of flowers. Moving on. Uh-oh. Nope, not that. Bad. Stop. Somebody messaged me for something. One moment. Not important. Deal with it later. There are also... Now, I know very little about Shintoism or Buddhism, but you'll find these little shrines well, this one's not very little. You'll find shrines all over Tokyo, and certainly in the countryside or whatnot. But this is a little shrine I happened to come across in Shinjuku, heading towards the Square Enix building, which I'll get to later. Yeah, little shrine. That was cool. This wasn't the only shrine I saw, but it was the biggest one. No, and sometimes you'll go here and actually see like services being performed. While I was there was a national holiday for Coming of Age Day, which is to celebrate adults turning 20. I forgot if it was this shrine or the other shrine. But anyway, there were ceremonies being performed related to that particular holiday. Okay, this is kind of neat. So the lead government building is in Shinjuku. And now I don't know too much about the structure of the Japanese government, but like this is the government building. It's like their halls of Congress, House of Representatives, Senate, all that. Tons of smaller administrative buildings and spaces and all that. And if you've watched a lot of anime, this building doesn't fare well. It gets destroyed a lot. One moment, taking a sip. And you can just go there. You can go inside the building. They'll let you in. There are guided tours, but you can also just register as an independent visitor and go see it. No metal detectors or anything, which is... I'm not going to get to full life consequences here, but that's a bit of a departure from what one is accustomed to in the country where I actually live. Speaking of things I'm not accustomed to, there's a cafeteria on the 32nd floor, and you can just go there and get a plate of food in the government cafeteria. That's what's on the right. I got a plate of vegetable curry, and it's like $5 for a bowl of curry, and it was really freaking good. Not the best curry I've had, but like, better than what you get at the konbini or convenience store, and certainly better than you get at a government cafeteria in America. So yeah, just as an oddity, you can go to the government building and get lunch. While going through Shinjuku, we also saw something funny. They've kind of cracked down on this, but you'll occasionally see groups of people doing like go-kart tours of parts of Tokyo. They used to do a whole bunch of like Mario Kart themed ones, but I guess they got a cease and desist or whatever. And now they just do general go-kart tours sometimes. I wasn't able to get a good photo of them. This is kind of off to the side, but these were all foreigners and they were all wearing like one step above Kigurumi costumes of like superheroes and monsters. Me and my partner speculated that like they're at a bachelor party. So they were having a good old time just being goofballs. One evening, one thing I looked up since we were traveling kind of around the holidays was if there are any like evening parks doing light projections or illuminations, and we found one near Hibiya Park in Godzilla Square, which with a name like that, you have to go. So here's Gojira, the critter himself. And this was in a shopping district that I think the stores were closing down by the time we got there. It was dark. And, the photos for this event made it look a bit more elaborate than it was, but it was pretty nice. This is also close to Ginza, if you know that neighborhood. So some high-end stores and shopping. Kind of felt like they had to run your credit before they'd allow you in. And in that area, we also found a theater for the Takarazuka Review. Sparrow, I know you know this, but the Takarazuka Review is an all-female theater troupe. And I'd heard they had a branch office in Tokyo, and we found it. So, yeah, they were running shows, I guess, yeah, at the time they were running a Sherlock Holmes show off to the right. And then later on, like, they were doing something for the movie RRR. I don't know how you pronounce that. I need to see that movie. And we got out just as the show was letting out, so it went from 0 to like shoulder to shoulder people in about 30 seconds. Nice. I would love to see another production sometime. Yeah, I've never seen a production of them. I wonder if they like maybe not live stream but archive like sell recordings of some of their shows. I'd be curious to watch it, or maybe next time I go try to catch a show. The kind of thing, had I thought about it, they do. Okay. Do you know if they happen to have subtitles? Because my partner wouldn't have an issue with that, but I sure as hell would. We can talk about that more later. But yeah, rotating theater troupe. Let's see. I have a DVD of one of the Phoenix Wright productions somewhere. Ha ha ha. If you find that, let me know. I might want to see. I don't think mine has subtitles, unfortunately. Well, even still, yeah, they did do a Phoenix Wright show, didn't they? But yeah, no, it's a cool thing that exists, and I need to watch it sometime. So I was glad to catch the end of the crowd walking home. Anyway. Okay. So before we left, I took a look online and made a list of like all the themed like anime collaboration cafes of properties that me and or my partner Emrys cared about. And this is probably going to be this is the biggest one for them. This is a Bungo Stray Dogs themed cafe. And so all throughout, never mind this red squiggle. That's a privacy issue. And so all throughout they have like a whole bunch of character art throughout the places. You can order like themed drinks and food. We didn't end up ordering any food because frankly, it didn't look that impressive. So we just got drinks and dessert. And so they had character art all over the place. And, sorry, I didn't mean to move ahead on that. One thing that a number of these cafes do is as you order a drink, you'll get a little coaster with art specific to the event. I mentioned this briefly on Tuesday. Me and Emrys picked up about 7 or 8 coasters, but we got some repeats, unfortunately. However, a few of the other patrons of the cafe actually ended up swapping. Like people who had duplicates or got a character they didn't want did some exchanges. So we ended up trading all of our duplicates and got nearly every print that was available. That was cool. Okay, this next one is neat. I never would have known about this, and my partner didn't mention it. This is a cafe run by, I believe, the brother of Hayao Miyazaki, and so it's I guess it's an authorized Ghibli cafe of sorts, but it's very, 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 very small. I think they had about 7 or 8 tables upstairs, and they sell. Most of the food stuffs they sell are pretty straightforward, but they do sell Totoro cream puffs, which are adorable, and you feel a little bad for eating one. But I ate it anyway. Quite tasty. And they have a little gift shop of all sorts of Miyazaki and Ghibli movie things downstairs. So, super cute. OMG, so cute. Yeah. Yeah. We got there a little late in the day to actually get a proper lunch, although we would have gotten a meal there. But made sure to get the Totoro cream puffs and then devour it. Man, Spotify is giving me a lot of Final Fantasy today. No complaints. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, moving along. While I was in Shinjuku, Shinjuku is actually where the headquarter building of Square Enix is located. So I made a joke on Twitter. It's like, yes, Mr. Enix, I'm here to ask about the Xenogears remake. That's a joke that's funny to me. Deal with it. And then outside the office building is this little cafe and merch shop called Artnia. I didn't end up getting any snacks here, but they had a ton of, this is the most reliable place to get Final Fantasy merchandise. Go figure. I actually went there back later with Emrys, and that's when I got their Paisa Patissier plushie. Fun bit of trivia. If you've played Final Fantasy XIV, this building, the Square Enix headquarter building, is actually a mechanic in one of the Nier raids. You have to dodge it or else it's an instant kill. Okay, so unfortunately, it's hard to come out well in photos, but in the Artnia Cafe is a little gallery space with all sorts of like their high-end figures and stuff encased in these little crystal alcoves and pedestals in the front area. Yeah, I really wish there was a way to take good pictures of this, but like so much light refraction and all that, it's super cool. And in each of these alcoves, they have, more of their figures. So like here's some Final Fantasy IX stuff, which I kind of feel like Final Fantasy IX gets forgotten a bit. I really need to replay it sometime. Taking a sip of tea. Then they had some little super deformed figures for 14 and a whole bunch of stuff for 7. Is the waifu figure here? Yep, here's the waifu figure. It's small, but it's there. Let's see. And in Ikebukuro, there was also a banana fish themed cafe. I've seen Banana Fish. I've watched the anime. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I never read the original manga. I know that for fans of a slightly older demographic, which would include my age group, it was a very formative manga series for them. It certainly was for my partner. And so, yeah, super glad we got to see this. We ended up getting a couple of plates of food there. Like I got like a taco plate, and I think Emrys got a salad. With these themed cafes, yeah, never mind that red scratch out blur. Don't worry about it. The thing with these cafes is like, I say this having forgotten to include pictures of them. The food and drink dishes you can order, it's more about presentation than like filling your stomach. So the food is all right, but it's more about the experience and the ambiance. I want to say this might have been like a 5th or 6th year anniversary type cafe for the adaptation. I forget when exactly that came out. Okay, this is cheating a little bit because this is a photo I took of the last time I went to the Cafe Eorzea in Akihabara. Yeah, let me look that up real quick because that's going to bug me. Fish anime. The air date July 5th, 2018. So yeah, we're coming on year 5.5. Time is weird, folks. Yeah, so Cafe Eorzea in Akihabara. This is a first-party cafe for Final Fantasy XIV that's official. There's also one in Denden Town in Osaka, and the one in Osaka is a bit more Ulda themed, which I've been to that one as well, just not this go around. And the one in Akihabara is Gridania themed. So you go in there and there's all sorts of like these weapon cases on the wall. It's decorated vaguely like I believe it's the Carline Company, Adventurers Guild House, and Airship Hub. So you got stuff for like the twin adders and all these little stained glass windows. Super cool space. This one I did manage to get some pictures of the food. I'll have that next. And since it's New Year's, people were writing like their New Year's resolutions and wishes and tying them up on a board space. We actually got placards for this, but I didn't realize it till after we left, so I didn't write anything. Oops. And yeah, and so the like presentation is boss here. You can get themed drinks for most of the classes and a lot of the NPCs. I got the Black Mage drink, which is like blue curacao kind of flavored. This one's not alcoholic. They do have a couple of alcoholic drinks there. And then some of their food dishes are also super cute. These are beaver koroke, which, if you've played Shadowbringers, this is adorable and a little nightmarish. And very tasty. Moving on. And here's some more feature close-up photos of like just some of the things people doodled on the, the fangs. What were the fangs? I think the fangs were like the little crunchy wafers. Yeah, the snout and fangs were a single piece. But yeah, there's a lot of really talented artists who just did these little doodles and New Year's things. So you got Paisas, a lot of Grahatia and stuff. Super cute. Okay, now we're getting into the weird, like the funny and weird shit part of the presentation. Which, oh, wrong side. Sorry, skipped ahead accidentally. So, yeah. Now for the weird stuff. This is going to be where like all the English and stuff is. So, Japanese toilets are a thing, like classic vintage style Japanese toilets, which unlike a Western style toilet, which is a unit that sticks up out of the ground, for Japanese toilets, you squat over them. My rule of thumb is if I encounter a Japanese style toilet, I hold it in and keep looking. Anyway, apparently they felt the need to warn people on proper procedure. And it's one of those things like, you know why there's a sign for this. This sign was not made preemptively. There were problems, and so they have to tell people in multiple languages to sit down on the toilet in order to use it. I'm not going to think about it any more than that. Okay. America Strikes Again. So every now and then you'll see themes for like American style restaurants or like American burgers or whatnot. This thing on the left, I can't properly read the Japanese, but it says something to the effect of like, they were famous in America and now Galaxy Donuts have made their way to Japan. I've never heard of these. I've never heard of these anywhere. Like, I'm not on Instagram, so maybe they made the rounds on Instagram and I just totally missed it. But like, okay, yeah, don't blame this on us. I did a little bit of looking up on it after the fact, and I think it's like, the process is kind of like dipping donuts in like dyed icing, like sort of like edible tie-dyed icing. But yeah, you could buy them at a kiosk, and in hindsight, I should have bought one. Science demanded an answer. And then on the right, there is a pizza joint called Shakey's Pizza. I didn't eat there, but apparently you can get New York, like they had the American style pizza, like pepperoni, buffalo chicken, 4-cheese pizza, and cheesecake pizza? Cheesecake pizza isn't a thing. Like, I don't think even Cheesecake Factory has come up with that. I hope this last one is served cold. Otherwise, I have questions. These next two signs are just kind of funny. The left sign kind of speaks for itself. We spotted this walking through Akihabara. One moment, taking a sip of tea. So, no real English there, just good life advice. And then the one on the right, this is a funny translation thing. What this sign is warning you is, be sure not to get the hem of your skirt or the legs of your pants or shoelaces stuck in escalators or automatic walkways. Just the phrasing, beware of getting involved. There's life advice in there somewhere, but it's a little grim for me to think about. Funny anecdote. So on my way home from my trip, at my connecting airport in not here, the one where I got stuck on a layover and delays for like 11 hours. That sucked. Anyway, there was actually a walkway that got shut down because a lady got her Crocs style flip-flop just completely jammed in the escalator. She was not injured. She was fine, but her shoe was not. Okay. Yeah, that, oh no, lol. Yeah, that happened. Next one, just another couple of funny signs I saw. Apparently there's a chicken gym. I'm not sure if this is an actual gym or a restaurant, and I should have confirmed that. But this is on the way from one of the train stations to the Square Enix building that I visited earlier. And this one on the right is advertising a big Gundam store that, believe it or not, I didn't actually go to it. I didn't go to well, I went to several Gundam shops, but not this one. So I was amused by the signage and kind of remind me of Captain Hurricane. I should send this his way sometime. Anyway. So the next one is in the 109 building in Shibuya, which is like a big shopping destination, fashion shopping destination. Also a minor plot point in the new season of Jujutsu Kaisen. The shop on the left had t-shirts for, yeah, I didn't buy the potato shirt. It's not my color. I don't like wearing white t-shirts in real life. But they had like a whole series of like vegetable shirts. So they had like this, cabbage, celery, carrots, all that. I thought it was funny. I need to actually composite a shot of me posing next to it. Minor aside, so the Reality app that I use for my model actually has a function to superimpose your model over a photo, and on a phone it looks fine. But I look at it on a full computer screen, and oh my god, it is embarrassing how bad the composite looks. Like, oh my god, my model is so low resolution, I'm embarrassed. They don't upscale it at all, or any anti-aliasing or anything. If this weren't a totally free application, I would be upset. Moving on. Yeah, the store on the right, this is another fashion store called Titty & Co. Believe it or not, no actual titties on display. Yeah, photo crimes. There were no actual titties. You know, I didn't go to Japan looking for that kind of thing, but if you're going to advertise it, I'm just going to say, truth in advertising. If you say something, deliver. Tomboy Cafe didn't have any tomboys. Titty & Co. didn't have any titties. Moving on. These are some other funny storefronts cited around. I think most of these were in Harajuku. Yeah, Eat Me was a fashion store. I did not go in. Oh My Cafe. I don't know if this is a single store or like a food court at the Tokyo Plaza. And then this last one, Harry's Sandwich Company. I should have gone in to take a look because, we were looking for dinner. We were kind of hungry. And apparently it's hella cozy, which cozy can mean a lot of things. I would describe many restaurants in Japan as being hella cozy and that these are very small, cozy or intimate spaces. I'm really curious how the economy of like rent and stuff works in Japan, because you'll see a lot of small little hole in the wall restaurants that have like only 5 or 6 tables, and they can afford to hire a small staff with a pretty small customer base. I wonder how all that works. Like, no fooling, I genuinely would like to know how the bookkeeping and stuff works for that, because you go to any American restaurant and restaurants have very, very high turnover in America. A lot of them just open and fail. Meanwhile, all these little stores in Japan seem to be doing all right with, maybe only 3 or 4 staff members, a cook, maybe a server, and a couple of cooks and a server, and that's about it. I'm curious how all that works. This one I featured on Twitter. I mean, Torment Nexus. I mean, Twitter. There is a cosmetic store called Weapon Shop. I believe I made the joke on Final Fantasy about this being, fashion being the true endgame in Final Fantasy 14. Don't go into battle unprepared. This was in the Nakano Broadway complex that all of those Mandorake stores I mentioned was. And then this last one on the left just made me laugh. This was a little pot holder we saw in a department store. And it kind of speaks for itself. Hello, I am a bear. Why do you not go out with me? This is some classic, this is the kind of English that I'm used to seeing over there. Not so much gibberish, just odd juxtapositions. I didn't see very much of that this time around. A lot of it probably had to do with the fact that, it's the winter months, so people might have been bundled up and, wearing coats over the glorious t-shirts. But there's still bits of it here and there. And then on the wall on the right, they found Waldo. And Waldo's like a de facto mascot for a real estate company. So I guess the idea there is if you find Waldo, you found your perfect home. He's a rare thing, and so is the right home for you. I mean, Lord knows apartment hunting sucks. So anyway, that amused me. Okay. We're coming close to the end of this, and I must give due diligence and fair warning. Of course it cuts to a cover of Snake Eater. Of course it does. Of course it does. So, yeah, now for some of the weird stuff. There's not too many of these things, but I do need to warn you. Some of these are pretty gross, especially the very last one. So, if you're squeamish, you might want to come back in 10 minutes. Okay, you've had your warning. Moving on. It's cock grease. But contrary to what it says, I mean, I guess you could use it there, but this is technically like a hair pomade. I've seen this in Japan before. So this is a very successful brand. I question their branding, though. A little bit goes a long way, I guess. I don't know. I found this thoroughly amusing. You can find this in multiple drugstores. This is not like a one-off whatever. Yeah, so that amused the hell out of me. I don't know why. I don't know why cock, though. I don't know. I mean, I guess this must be like a very, I don't know. This is trying to unravel the thoughts of Mad Men. Maybe that's because it's like a very hard hold pomade or something. I don't know. So I didn't take that many pictures of gotcha machines because most of them are just kind of silly, but these two were weird. On the left is Pennywise from It, like the OG Pennywise, which is horrifying. I'm surprised this sold out because this is 400 yen. This is one of the more expensive gashapon machines. And no fooling, I saw this machine operable in the morning. When I went back in the afternoon to show Emrys, it was sold out. So somebody bought it. I believe this is in the same shopping center as the Chunk. The one on the left, so, you know, I'm not singling out Fujoshi here. The same thing absolutely applies to male otaku. So many of the properties are like conventionally attractive character, like a plethora of conventionally attractive characters. I collectively refer to them as like marketable singing boys. Like you've got Hypnosis Mike, all the mobile games like Uta no Prince Sama, tons and tons and tons of others. But for some reason, this one toy company thought, you know what our marketable handsome boys need? To be slathered up with butter. We need some greasy boys here. Oh, that's BTS, I'm sure. They have a hit song called Butter. Oh. I did not know that. That explains a lot. And I'm a little disappointed now. I kind of hoped it was just a I'd kind of hoped it was just a random, let's just slather these boys up in butter. Oh well. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, you can butter up your BTS boys. Aren't they all, maybe not all, but aren't a number of them serving active duty in South Korea right now? Like mandatory military service? I feel like I read that somewhere. Okay. This last one, I think I saw 2 stations of this, but one of them was in Nakano Broadway. This is a vending machine where you can get edible bugs. Bugs that you can eat. I mean, I know lots of bugs, you know, technically they're edible, blah, 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 but like, you can get a scorpion. I would not put it past Japan to anthropomorphize butter. Let's go back. And that's kind of, that's another possibility of what I thought they were doing. We'll go back to the bug vending machine in a minute. Ugh, my kiddo got some edible ants last summer. Yeah, I think I heard about that. Like, ants is one thing. We'll get back to the bug machine. But on the topic of Japan anthropomorphizing things, this has been going on for years, but like there are several iterations of like anthropomorphized, you know, Bishonen or Ikemen who represent train stations. So it wouldn't surprise me either if they decided to do butter. But going back to the bug machine, yeah, they have ants. You can also get scorpions or spiders or all sorts of other things. And by could, I didn't. No, was not going to give this my money. Checking one thing real quick. Okay. And all right. So I know I gave a disclaimer warning earlier. And I'm debating whether or not I still even want to show this, but I've opened Pandora's box. I can't not go there. This does not violate anything on Twitch. But I do need to put a disclaimer here. So, for those of you who somehow don't know this, there's a pretty broad market of doujinshi, which are fan-made comics, usually, not always, but usually based on existing properties. And you can find them for everything. And, you know, there's plenty geared towards a, shall we say, male audience and plenty geared towards a female audience. Extrapolate from that what you will. And one thing that surprised me is I'd seen this before, but there's a surprising number of doujinshi for Western properties. So like popular movies, like all the Marvel movies, you know, you can get any sort of pairing you can imagine. Tons of video games. Not very many Western video games yet. We were actually looking for some Baldur's Gate ones, but Baldur's Gate just came out like late December in Japan, so it might be a bit too early. But you can also find some for Western TV shows, like I mentioned, crime dramas, 24, other movies, and well, time to rip off the Band-Aid. Rick and Morty. Now, for those of you unfortunate enough to have a basic understanding of Japanese, or even those of you who can't, I try not to yuck anyone's yums, but this is fucked up. The title is literally Gigi Mago, Grandfather, Grandchild, Rick and Morticia. So this is a gender swap incest dojinshi. This is gross. I did not open this. I certainly didn't buy it. I just saw the cover. And I'm sorry. Like, I feel like I should have more to say about this. But, you know, not to yuck anyone's yums, but ew, gross, and I'm sick of looking at it. I saw that existed, and now you do too. Enjoy your nightmares. But as the last slide for this tonight, I offer you a palate cleanser. That was horrifying. Let me show you something wholesome and adorable. Plushies. I showcased these on my Tuesday night, but one thing me and Emrys did end up buying this time around were some plush toys. This is our beautiful son, who is a Tokage plushie from like the Sumiko Gurashi series of like little critters that get knocked into the corner and kind of forgotten about, along with an Obake and Tsuchinoko and the crab. So look at the cute little critters to burn that last image out of your mind. Lordy. Yep. So yeah, that's what I got. I have more pictures, but I didn't want to go through the entire album because these are the highlights. These are the cool things we saw, funny things that are worth sharing. I'm going to go back to a few of these and probably do some more pose shots with my avatar. But yeah. I'm very lucky and fortunate to have been able to go to Japan again. This trip kind of came together in a hurry. There were some real life circumstances that had to get sorted out before we can book things. One moment, sip of tea. I have like a cinnamon spice tea, which is way sweeter than I would expect it to, but honestly, that's pretty good right now. And yeah, if you go, my recommendation is by all means, do your research, find a good part of town to go into. And I've had surprisingly good luck just picking a random direction and walking for a few blocks, and you'll find something cool. You'll find a really, really neat restaurant or a fun exhibit. Through sheer happenstance on a prior trip, I found the Nipponbashi Denden Town shopping district in Osaka, and also the Tsukiji Fish Market in Tokyo on a prior trip, just looking around. Japan's a cool place. Navigating in English is surprisingly easy. Most of the signage, especially in and around train stations, is in English. And honestly, like, we've all got smartphones. Get yourself either a plan with international data or a SIM chip. GPS will do you wonders. And with that, I'm going to take a little bit of a breather because I've been talking a lot and I'm getting lightheaded. And when we come back, I will do some live 2D rigging. So yeah, going to take a bit of a break and then we will be back.